projects or when you're working remotely for a client, there can be so many cases that part of the team. I'm not directly collaborating with the team, or for example, if there's a website which you guys are working on, and then one page is being made by some other developer, other page is being made by some other developer, how do we merge our code? So one option can be pen drives. You can just work with the pen drives, transfer data here and there. So they can be different cases. So that is when you require that, okay, if there was something which could help me merging the code, so helps you. Another scenario can be versions of one particular file. For example, if you are a designer, or if even if you are a coder, right? So if you are making a website and then you create multiple versions of homepage of your website, right? So that one with a background image, other with which has a background video, and they can be different versions. So what you do is you create different files for all the versions. But once you start using Git, you don't have to create different files of every version which you are creating. You can just keep on editing in one particular file. Git will, so that if you want to go to the version which had video as a background, you can just tag that particular thing and you can go to that version. If you want to go on the version which has image, you can just directly go to that particular version. Git provides us different commands through which we can navigate in the timeline of our project. So that is there. Now, as I said, there can be this many options through which you can work on code, right? You can work through Dropbox or any other thing. You guys can work on email. You can copy paste your code while you are in a team project, or USB drives like I mentioned, right? And then there can be different ways, but all these ways are not authentic. There is a chance of mistake, right? If you are copy pasting one file might, or one word might get replaced. If you are using USB drives, again there is a possibility that one file might go here and there. So all these things are like not dependable, right? So is the definition of version control system clear as of now? Anyone can say, like, let's as I said, let's keep it a discussion. Like, what exactly is a version control system? Version control system is basically, yes, who's answering?
Yeah, no, so I mean, maybe it is from a system to system, like
Yes,
depending upon the various versions of it.
correct,
So
correct.
like, we can collaborate through any system using Git and GitHub. Like we can share code,
That's what
we can
version
work
control
upon.
system provides. Correct. So
Yeah.
basically, yes. So and in simple language, it takes it gives us one sort of, it takes us it provides a functionality which humans can't do without error, right? 4 people are working on a project. There is a possibility that in 80% of the cases that you guys will merge the code properly, but there is a chance, 20% chance, where you might miss one file or one word here and there, right? So that's the functionality which Git provides, which GitHub provides to you, that you guys just focus on the code part, the code merging and version control, that's taken care by the Git, right? Now the second thing is that not the versions of different files in your system. It can manage versions of different files in different locations as well. For example, if person A is working on his computer in one particular folder, and then person B is working on his system on the same folder A, so Git will make sure that whatever changes person A is making in that particular folder are reflected to person B as well. So it takes care of the multiple locations changes as well, so that you guys don't have to again keep on asking everyone that what are the changes you have you made any changes or not. Git takes care of all those things. It makes sure that all the locations are in sync with the project, right? And the third and very important thing is if you guys have made any wrong any error, if there's any error in the code, if you have written some wrong code, for example, uh, uh, you worked on a project for 7 days, and at seventh day you felt like, okay, on sixth day or on fourth day I did this thing, this might be creating a problem in this project. Suddenly you felt that, okay, on seventh day there's an error in project, and you feel like, yeah, seventh on sixth day or fourth day I wrote this line of code, or I worked on this module of the code that might be creating some mistake in my, that might be the reason why I'm facing this error. So you can quickly roll back to that particular location and have a look that, okay, is my project working fine or not. So if you can directly switch to that particular location. You can just you can just switch to it with the commands later. So this can be the usual representation of how Git works. Shared repository is something which is maintained by Git, and there can be 2, 3, 4, 5 developers or hundreds of developers which are contributing to that shared repository. So let's consider there's developer 1, developer 2, developer 3. As I explained in the previous example, that whatever changes developer 1 is doing, that shared repository will make sure that it's in sync with developer 2 and developer 3 as well. Developer 2 and developer 3 are making any changes, then developer 1 will get all those changes in sync. So this is the functionality of Git. It takes care of that particular thing. Now, so without it, it goes without saying that almost every company is using Git in some or other way, because there's no alternative of Git, and there's nothing better than Git when it comes to collaboration or when it comes to version control system. So almost every company is using Git in some or the other part. So this is how it goes. Like almost every company is using it now. So this was the introduction of the Git, that like why it's used and how, what was the overview of Git. Now let's actually come to the part of it, that in case you want to use Git in your project, or if you want to introduce Git to your team project, how you guys will use it and how actually Git works. What's the basic core functionality of Git? So uh, Git has three states. Git maintains three states. As I said that Git provides you the functionality to roll back to any particular change, or go to any particular change which you made 10 days, 5 days before, or have a timeline view of any file, that on this date I made this change, on that particular date I made this change. So how Git manages all this stuff? So Git has three major states, or Git maintains three major states for any file, right? One state is commit, second state is and third state is staged. Correct. So this is something which you guys need to listen carefully, because these are the three states through which any file sort of uh, stays in Git repository, or you can say Git repository or Git folder structure, anything, right? So for example, if you have a project, I'll try to explain it uh, through my VS Code. Let me just open VS Code. Okay, so I hope my VS Code is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So yeah, so let's assume this is our folder where we are working. This is the actual folder which I am working on. Let's try to create a new folder in which we can actually work. So I'll just create a new window. I'll close this one. Okay. Yep. It's opening. Yep. I'll create, open a folder. Meanwhile, if you guys have any question regarding the last 5 minutes which I spoke about, you can just ask your questions in the chat. You can unmute yourself and ask. So let's create a folder which is Git and just open it. Cool. Now, as you is which is empty by default, I'll open the command prompt and we are here. Okay, so great. So first thing first, how do we access Git in our system? So the first thing is that you need to install Git. Okay, so for installing it, there's no big deal. Just go to the file, you just need to click on it and then you can install it, gets installed automatically. That's the first step. Now second, how do you you'll have to initialize Git in every particular folder which you want to use Git into it, right? So this is the first step or first command, which is git init. This is how you initialize Git into your folder, right? uh, is my code visible, or do I need to zoom in?
So it's
It's
clearly
visible.
visible.
It's visible, right? So this is the very first command which you need to write to initialize Git in any of the folders which you want to use Git into. I'll write git init, and that's the message which I'm getting: initialized empty Git repository at this particular path. So now in this particular folder, I'm ready to use Git. Cool. Now let's come back again to the three main states which of a file which I was explaining. So now in this particular folder of mine, Git will track all the changes which I'm making in all the file. Even if it's a change of one particular word, Git will make sure that it logs it somewhere, that okay, this word was changed in this particular file at this particular time. Now let's make a file. Let's try to make a file into this particular folder. So I'll make a new file. Let's assume that we are making a website, so I'll make an index.html file, right? So this is the file. Now as soon as I have made this file, Git automatically knows that what is the status of this particular file. How do we check it? There's a command in Git which is git status. Whenever or whenever you feel like that I need to know the status of my current project, that what's being done in the particular file, just say git status. So it will give you a status in result. Let's go line by line what it's saying. the first thing it's saying that you're on branch master. I'll explain the concept of branch later. No commits yet. Again, if you'll see, there's a state of commit. So as of now, it is saying that there are no commits yet. I'll explain commit also. Then it's saying that untracked files, and then it's giving me the name of the untracked file, okay, which I just made now. And then it's saying that nothing is added to the commit, untracked files present. So what you need to see is that it's telling me that, okay, there's an untracked file as in you have added one file in this project, and it's untracked as of now, that you have just started to work on this particular file. So Git is giving me that, and its color is red. When the color code is red, it means that the file is not committed yet. So this is the use of git status command. Now, so this was the one example. Take another example as well. I'll try to make another file. Let's make one more file with the name of style .css. Let's do that, and then let's try using again git status command, status. Same stuff. It's giving me that there are two untracked files. One is style.css, one is index.html. So this is the perfect example that, okay, now Git has started working. Cool. So now let's understand that, okay, what are the three states? So as soon as you add any file in your repository or in your folder, Git considers it as untracked file, as in right. So that particular untracked file, if you want to ensure that, okay, now Git will see all the changes into this particular file, you need to write a command which is git add. Once you do that, it goes to the committed stage. Let's see an example over here. For example, these are the two files which I am working on. Now, if you want to add one particular file, you can write, instead of all, what you can do is you can write do that. So now let's check git status. Now see, one difference which you'll see in the status is style.css is still in untracked status, but our index.html has now moved to changes to be committed. So this is, and it's showing me in the green version. So this file, once you add any file, or when I'm saying add, it doesn't mean adding to the folder. When I'm saying add, it means when you add any file with this command git add and then file name, it goes to the staged state. And what is a stage state? Now Git will make sure that it tracks all the changes inside this particular file. Whatever changes you are doing inside this, make sure that it is seeing all these changes. And modified is the stage when you have saved one particular file, and then after saving it again you are doing any changes in that particular file. So Git also makes sure that it shows you all those changes. Now let's again see an example. So these are the two states which you are seeing. Now let's try to add something in this folder. I haven't written HTML in so many days. Let's try to. Let's just write these two lines. Now let's again see git status. I've added 2 lines to that particular file. Now let's see git status. Yes. So now see, what's the different? style.css is still in untracked state because we have neither added anything in this particular file, nor we have added it to the git through git add command. But what we did to HTML part, index.html, is we wrote something inside it. So now the status is modified. Git is saying that you have modified index.html. You have written something in index.html. So that's how every time you check status, Git makes sure that it shows you the correct status of the file. If you have modified a file, it will give you modification. If you have uh, even if you have deleted a file, Git will make sure that it will tell you that, okay, you have deleted a file. For example, let's try to delete this particular file. For example, I have deleted this file. Cool, I have deleted. In your case, accidentally someone deleted a file, right? So you can directly check it. I am writing git status. See, what it is showing is that you have deleted this index.html. So this is how you can sort of file whatever is happening in your particular git folder. And as you have seen that the command which I wrote was after deleting the file, I wrote git checkout index.html. So this is the command which brings back the file in case you have deleted, and it can be at any time. I just deleted the file like 5 seconds before, and I wrote this command git checkout index.html. But even if you have deleted the file 10 days before, or even if some developer has deleted the file accidentally 5, 7, 10 days before, you just need to write this command in git checkout, and the usual path where that file was supposed to be. If the file was somewhere inside the folder, you just need to write the path according, and it will bring that file from the deleted state to the original state. That's what Git has done, and all the changes which are there, it would be there. So I deleted the file and all this stuff. So now these are the 2-3 commands which we have seen as of now. Let's I have also explained that these are the 3 states which are there. One is committed, one is modified, and other one is staged. Is there any message I have missed? Okay. If there are any questions, you guys can just unmute yourself and ask, or we can just I'll just keep on moving. Cool. So until now, whatever we have seen, all the git commands which we were using is for our local system, correct? Whatever changes I was doing in my repository, that was in the local directory or one machine, or in just my computer. But as I was speaking initially, that Git can help us managing the code at multiple locations as well, correct? So taking the example of this folder itself, for example, this is a website on which I'm working alongside 5 other friends of mine, correct? Be having the same folder in their local machines. How Git will make sure that all those 5 folders remain in sync with this particular folder? So there is something which is a remote Git repository which is there, through which all the local 5 machines are connected. Let's open GitHub for that. I hope everyone is familiar with the GitHub stuff. Like, at least you guys must have an account on GitHub.
Yes, so we do have it.
Cool. So now let's come back to the problem which we discussed. Git is taking care of all this particular repository. Now, there are 5 different people who are working on the same folder. How do I make sure that whatever changes I am doing in this particular folder are reflected on those 5 people's projects as well? Because that's the ultimate requirement, right? You guys work on major projects, minor projects, right? Like there's a team of 3 to 4 people, I guess, and then uh, you guys need to collaborate, right? So that's where Git will help you. So how you can do that is, what we'll do is, once you are here, for example, you have created a new folder in your local repository. So what you'll do is, on your GitHub, on your GitHub account, do is you will create the same new folder on your GitHub as well. This is the process which I'm explaining to make sure that you can your project is ready to collaborate. So let's just make a demo repository with the name of demo git. This is exactly similar to creating a folder in your local machine, correct? Whatever the processes you are following in your local machine for creating a folder, you are creating a same folder at this remote repository as well, so that every member of your team can access this particular folder. So this is done. Now let's make sure that it stays public, and then you create a repository. And this is done. What's the use case of creating this particular folder, this particular repository? Let's come back to the slide. So this working directory is the of the local machine, correct? And this Git directory, Git repository, is the central repository in which every other team member would be sort of making sure that the code stays up to date over there. So the diagram which I explained at the beginning of the code was this. So for example, developer A has made any change in the folder. For example, developer A has made some changes in index.html. So what developer A would do is, those changes which he has made in index.html, he will push those changes to this shared repository, and then this shared repository will notify developer B and developer C that there are some changes you need to sync, correct? It's just like an update. Your device gets an update, right? Regularly. You get an update in your mobile applications, you get an update in your system updates, right? So how what Play Store does is, Play Store notifies you that there's an update. Do you want to sync? You have an option that, okay, I want to get latest updates. It's exactly same in the case of shared repositories. Any of the one developer one developer C makes any change in the and then shifts it to shared repository. Shared repository automatically notifies all the other developers that there are some changes you need to sync. So developer B is doing something on style.css and he pushes it to the shared repository. Automatically everyone will get a message or a notification that, okay, you need to sync now. So that's how the collaboration works. So now this shared repository which I am talking about, this is the shared repository which we are creating. This is the shared repository which we are creating. So we have already now created. So once you are there, so Git will provide you a unique URL to your shared repository. Git will provide you all the basic necessary details which are required or which you will require to configure. So you can ignore everything and you can just create your repository. Okay, so there's a question from Harsh, that how to push changes done on local machine to the repository. Yes, that's where I was coming. uh, uh, I'll explain both the part first, the local repository and the shared repository, and then I'll explain how to sync the local and remote repository. So this is the unique URL of your repository, correct? If my screen is visible, just like there's a path to your folder in your local repository, every file and every folder has a path, correct? You guys might have used command prompt where you can, where you have a file, where you have a path to every file. So in your local system there's a path exactly similar to the path of your repository. So what we'll do is we'll copy this path. Now, as the question was there from Hertz, that how do you push whatever local changes you have done to the remote repository, to this particular repository? So for that you need to connect both the repositories, your local repository and the remote repository which you have created on GitHub. You guys might have used database somewhere. Anyone who has used database ever,
Yes,
even
sir.
for a single
Yes,
project?
sir.
Okay, so I guess the first one who answered, I have a cross question to you. How do you connect your database? Like, there's a requirement to connect, right? Your
Yes, sir.
database to the. So what do you do? How do you connect your database to
So
the
we write
remote
code
repository?
and we use connectors for it.
There's a connector, right? There's a connector which connects your database to your node server or whatever, whichever server, and every time you do a query, it brings data from database and gives it to you, or and then you send it to the user, correct? So there are bridges basically, correct? So exactly similar, exactly same case in case of Git. You need to create a bridge in between your local repository and the remote repository. So I'll just copy this particular URL. This is the URL which is provided to me by Git, and I'll go back to my local repository where I was coding. Now we'll learn another Git command which connects your remote repository to your local repository, and the command goes like this: git remote set origin, and then you need to paste that URL. So once you do that, I've written something wrong. I have written, I'll just see. Okay, instead of set, it is add. Set is to edit the origin. Yep. So the command goes by git remote add origin and then the URL which you copied of the folder you created on GitHub. So we'll see every word. Git is the basic command which you need to write for writing any code. Remote is the keyword which we use for mentioning that we are adding a remote repository from somewhere else. And the add command, add explains itself. Origin is just a keyword. Origin is just a keyword. You can write anything over here. You can write name of your project as well over here, just to make sure that you remember it. So origin is something, it can be mentioned as an identifier, that okay, this is the identifier for this particular URL. So it can be anything, right? So once you have done it, now that's all. Your local repository is connected to the your remote repository. That's just one line of code or one command. Now let's clear this. So now we have learned how to connect the uh, remote repository to the local repository. Now, next step is how do you push your changes to the remote repository? Because that's the next step. That's how other developers will get to know that, okay, these are the changes that I have made in the folder, correct? So again, let's have git status command. So same stuff. It is showing me that there is a new file which is index.html. Why it is showing me that it's a new file? Because we deleted it and we brought it back. So it's showing me deleted. And in case of style.css, it's still the same. It's showing me that it's untracked file. Now, if you want to push all the changes, for example, you work for 5-10 hours in a whole day, and then now you're ending your day, and now you want to just push all your change, whatever changes you have made in whole day, and you need to push it to Git repository. So you'll write the command git add --all. So this --all is for adding all the files. Instead of writing name of each and every file, what you can do is you can just write --all. What it does is it adds all the file with just one command. So now if I'll check git status, now it's showing me that okay, all the changes are ready to be committed. These are ready to be committed. So we have done all the changes, whatever changes were required in the project. I have added them all to the staging area. Now, final step to push it to the remote server, correct? Okay. Yes, that is also alternate use. Instead of writing git add --all, you can just write git add and dot. You can do that as well. Now, if I want to push all the changes to the shared repository, the next command which is there is git commit. Now, this command is something which is very important when you are rolling back, or when you want to see what previous changes you have done in your repository, right? I was saying that if you have done any change 10 days before, if you want to have a look at that particular change, how you will look at, correct? Let's just take an example of maintaining a diary, correct? So how do you maintain a diary? Or even if you're reading a book, or even if you're like if you're doing anything, how do you maintain a timeline? How can we timeline? By adding bookmarks, correct? That's the only scenario, right? If you'll add a bookmark at page number 5, if you add a bookmark at page number 70, if you add a bookmark at page number 90, that would be easier for you to write. Just make sure that okay, at page number 5 I have added a bookmark that okay, I have to read this thing. Let's take an example of another stuff. For example, you're solving a maths problem. There's a mathematics book, and there are questions at every page. Now you are unable to solve a question at page number 5. So what you do is let me skip this question. I'll just add a bookmark over here that I'll solve this later, and I'll skip to next particular file. So whenever you'll have a look at that particular bookmark, it will remind that okay, I added a bookmark over here that I'm facing some problems in solving this question. I'll solve this later. So it will directly remind you that okay, I need to solve this. So adding bookmarks are the best example or best way of reminding you that okay, this is something which I need to do here, right? So Git also provides you that particular concept. So every time you commit anything, you can add a message as a reminder that okay, this is what I have done in this particular case. So what I have done, I have added 2 files, index.html and style.css. So I'll get added 2 files, index and style. As I said that as soon as I'll push it to the shared repository, the notification which they'll be able to see that developer 1 has made these 2 changes. It would be easier for them to understand that okay, these are the changes which are there on shared repository. So now I have committed. Let's check the status again. Git status. What's the status? Nothing to commit. Working repository is now clean. So that's the step which we have done. So git status. Now I'll again go to clear. Our files are ready to be pushed to the push any file to remote repository. It's simple git push origin master. This is the command. I'll take you through all the words. Git is the basic stuff which you need to use. Push is the name of command, correct? Origin is the keyword which we set initially for that particular URL which we added. So that that was the use case of origin. You don't have to write that long URL every time. Instead, you can just write origin every time. And master is the name of the branch. What is branch? Branch is basically different. We are pushing it to the master branch. I pressed enter. So there are few lines which it is showing me status that it's done 100%, compression done, and all this. It's just the random information which it's giving to me. So now as soon as I have written this command, let's go to our repository and let's have a look. Cool. So now you can see that whatever changes or whatever things you guys were doing in your local repository, now it's showing on the shared repository as well. You can have a look at the files. So like are both the files were empty. So over here as well, if you'll open anything, it will show that okay, both the files are empty. And so this is the UI of GitHub. It will give you all the possible details which it can give. It's giving me the detail that okay, Mrinal Jain has added 2 files and the last change was 2 minutes before. It's giving me all the possible details which it can give it to me. All the changes 3 minutes ago, changes were done in this file were done in 3 minutes ago, right? So we have completed one cycle over here. We made a local repository, we made a remote repository, and then we connected both the repositories, and then we started pushing. So now they can be 10, 15, 100 developers contributing to this particular repository. The process would be exactly the same. What they just copy this particular URL, go to their local machines, set the origin with the command which is git remote set origin, and then they can start contributing to this particular project. So this is how you will complete one circle. Let's try to do again another change. Let's say let's have a git status over here on branch master, nothing to commit. I just did a small change in this HTML file. I wrote something over here, and then I've written something. Yeah. Okay, so I've done this few changes. Again, Git is showing me that you have modified one file and the name of file is GitHub. I'll follow the same process which we did. So what would be the next step now? If someone can tell me, I want to push it. So what would be the next step?
Git add.
Yes. So now what I'll do is git add. And as someone suggested that you can write dot as well. Yes, it definitely works. I could have written anything. I could have written git add dot. I could have written git add all, or I could have written git add index.html. Everything works, correct? Now I have added it. Now what I'll do is I'll add a commit message, a message which is really important to add so that everyone knows, every other developer knows that what is the change which is being pushed at the repository. Message added code in index.html. Might have done a spelling mistake. Cool, no problem. So that is done. Now what is the next step? Directly git push origin and then master. As soon as I do this, it gives me confirmation that your code is pushed to the remote repository. As soon as I'll go here, let's refresh the repository, and here it is. Look, it's showing that index.html 38 seconds before, and if I'll open it, these are the changes which are visible. So that's how you sort of make sure that every other person has the change, whatever changes you are doing. So this was the basic stuff which you can do. You can, and it doesn't need to be a empty project, or you can directly initialize Git in your working project as well. Even if you have tens or 15s or so many hundreds of files in your project, you can directly go over there and write Git in it and start working with the Git at that particular folder. There are so many commands which are really useful in the Git. For example, as of now, if there is Git status, thing is, let's say I add another thing over here, which is an H2. Is something I have added. So now so this is something which I have added. So now I just want to know that as of now, I know that I have added one line and rest of the project is exactly the same, correct? I have just added one line where there is a hundred and thousands of lines of code, and I've made changes at so many different line number 100, line number 200. I have made changes. I want to know that what is the difference, or what are the changes which I have done in one particular file. So there's a command in Git which is git diff and the name of file. So what this particular command tells you is what is the difference, what are the changes that are done in this particular file. So it's clearly visible to you that the complete file is showing me the same, but there's a plus in front of H2, this line. Why there's a plus? Because I have just added this file. I have just added this line. So this line is new, so Git is telling me that this is the new. Seeing the changes in one particular file. Then there's another command which is git log. Git log tells us all the basically it gives you a timeline view. That's what we were talking about, right? That you can have a timeline view at your project. So git log command tells me all the thing, that on Saturday 5 at this particular time I did this change. On Saturday 5th at this particular time I did this change. So it's clearly understood by us that we have pushed code 2 times two logs. So similarly, it gives you the log from the beginning. So from today it until if 4, 10, 5 years, for how many times I'll push the code, it will maintain the log of that particular code. Now, the interesting thing, the last and the interesting thing is that we can move to any state in our repository, right? That was also one of the important features of Git, that I can make or I can take my repository to any state which it was there at the previous times, right? So there's a command for doing that. So git checkout. So for example, I want to go to this particular state when I when I did the changes for the index, added 2 files to the index and style. So what I'll do is I'll copy this commit ID, the whole commit ID, which is mentioned over here. Every commit has a commit ID. So this is the one group, this is the another group. So every commit has a ID. So I'll just paste this commit ID over here after git checkout and press enter. This commit or change or stage status. Okay. So let's have a look at git log again. I have made another commit. So now it's showing me 3 git logs, correct? I just made a commit. Now what's our requirement is, as of now, I am over here. I am at this commit, but I want to go back to this particular commit, which was the initial state of my repository. So what is the command? Check out, and I'll copy this. I'll paste it over here and I'll press enter. So as soon as I did this, you'll just see that now our Git repository is again at that particular state when we did no changes. So this is how you move inside your Git repositories at a previous version or any version which is needed by you. Git status, it's showing that, okay, now you are at this particular commit ID. So this is how you can move ahead or behind or at any particular point in your Git repository with the help of your commit messages. Whatever commits you are doing, it acts as a bookmark and you can move to that particular state using git checkout command. So this was one thing. So I've covered almost all basic commands, almost all basic stuffs which you need to sort of set up and start using Git at least. How much time do we have, Tanvi? Was it supposed to be till 4:30 or it was 3 to 4 itself?
So it was 3 to 4, but if you feel that there is something left out along with this, so like
So
you can.
yeah, so I'm done with one part of it. If you guys have any questions in this particular thing, you guys can ask. Whatever commands I have mentioned till now, if you guys have any question in that particular thing, you can ask.
So,
Beat anyone.
GitHub gives you an option when we suppose I have an access folder in my local system and I want to upload that whole folder in a GitHub repository. So it gives you an option that using the GUI you can use a upload option and you can upload the folder, right?
Yes.
So I was once trying to upload the whole folder, but there were a lot of files in that folder. And when I saw the repository, I saw that not all the files were in the repository. But when I used the command, when I uploaded the files, uploaded the whole folder using the command line, using the git bash in my system, I was able to see all the files in the repository. So why was this? Why did this sort of thing happen?
Yeah, so correct. So that's where Git. So Git was basically introduced as a command line tool itself. Git was never introduced for uploading file by just dragging and dropping. That is the feature which generally Google Drive and stuff provides. Correct? What do you usually do on Google Drive? You just uh, drag a file over there and it starts uploading automatically. Correct? That is the feature which is provided by uh, Google Drive. It's easier for users because you just need to drag and drop. But in case of Git, uh, Git provides you a GUI which is not up to the mark. It is still lacking. It's just it's there because not everyone is comfortable using the command lines. But I would suggest you to go through command lines itself. You never use the GUI part of Git because it's still in, I would say, in development phase, and while uploading so many files it might crash. So what have happened might be that uh, the server might have crashed, or any such thing might have happened because you were uploading so many files. So a few files might have just broken, or might not have fully uploaded because of internet connection or anything. So that's the reason where your all files were not shifted. But if you do it with the help of command line, Git will make sure that, okay, out of 200 files, if 15 files were uploaded and then internet connection was lost, it will make sure that it maintains the version, and once the internet connection is back, or even if you have cancelled it, next time when you are trying, it will start from the 16th file and upload it to up till 200. So Git, when you use it with the command line, it's much better, and the GUI is not that good and not up to the mark for so many files. If there's just one or two file, you can upload it with the GUI, but I would suggest you to use the command line itself. Yep. Any other question?
Um, do we have some questions?
Anything? Git is a vast topic. If you want me to speak about any particular topic, which obviously I might have missed, or you want me to speak, because there are too many things. There's a concept of pull request. There's a concept of branch. There are so many concepts. I'll just explain if you guys want me to.
Sir,
Yes, so basically, if more than one people are working on a project, so how to merge all the developers' code. So that's
Correct.
actually the
Great. Yeah, that's a great question. Cool. So until now, what we have done is that one person is doing something on his local machine, and he has pushed that particular code on the Git repository. Correct. So I'll share my screen again. Okay. Yeah. So let's assume Rishi, yes, you had this question. So Rishi has started to work on this project, and he pushed the initial code on this Git repository. Now, there are 3 more team members who will work on this particular project with Rishi. So what Rishi would do is, Rishi will give them this particular URL to all the 4 developers, that this is the GitHub project on which we need to work. Make sure that you have this particular project in your systems. Now, Rishi has given one person a task that once you have this folder in your file, you have to work on index.html, or he has given 2 people that you need to work on index.html, and the other 2 people he has given tasks that you need to work on style.css. So this is the story. Now, how they will set up? Let's start with the setup process. So this was the Rishi's computer, Rishi's screen, right? Rishi's computer. Now let's assume that I created another version. how that new person will make sure that he has the uh, code, right? So what that new person will do is that new person will create a folder. Name can be anything, doesn't need to be the same as uh, Rishi made. Git project. Now he'll open it. Initially, his folder would be empty. Now, what he wants to do is he wants this particular folder in his local machine. The other, I'm talking about the other person. What he'll do, he'll be doing setup, right? So he'll open the command line. Now, what's the very first step? If someone can tell me, what's the initial step which you need to do to start working with Git?
Git init.
Correct. So he'll do Git init, initialize. Git is now initialized. Now he will be needing to connect his local machine to the remote machine, or local folder to the remote folder. This is the next step which he needs to do. Correct. That's when he'll be able to bring in all the code which Rishi has pushed to the repository. Correct. So what is the command for connecting? I guess we learned it previously as well. The
Git
command
remote
for connecting. Correct. So that is the command git remote add origin, and the URL which is there. So now done. So the second developer has now connected his local machine to the remote repository. So now in this case, what needs to be done is he wants to get all the changes which are there on the repository. In Rishi's case, what was the requirement? Whatever changes he did on his local machine, he wanted to push them to the remote repository. Correct. In this scenario, the second developer's scenario, he wants to pull all those changes. He wants to get all the changes to his local machine. So the command would be exactly same with just one difference. So the last command was git push origin master. This was the command which was used by Rishi to push all the changes. The second developer would just use the command git pull instead of git push. Git pull origin master. This is the command which he will use. And as soon as he uses this command, you will see that automatically those two files are now with in his system as well, in the system of developer 2. So this is how now two developers are collaborating on one project. Same case with this developer was assigned a task to work on the CSS file. He did some changes in the CSS file, saved the file. Now he did git add. Next step, he writes a commit message. Dev2 changes in CSS. He write those changes. Now, what is the requirement from developer second side? That he wants to push the changes which he has done. So instead of pull, again, what he'll do is git push. So as soon as he writes this push command, his changes will also go to the remote repository. Now Git will automatically take care of all the code merging and everything. You don't have to do it. Git will take care of it. You just need to pull and push regularly. Git will take care of it. See, dev2 changes in CSS. And if you'll open this file, these are the changes which we just did. So similarly, whosoever has this URL can set up this folder in his local machine and make changes to this particular repository. So I hope I have answered Rishi's question, that how do developers collaborate and how code is merged. Am I right, Rishi? Or do you have any follow-up question?
It's clear now.
Yeah. So this was the concept. Another thing which I would like to explain is, now, like I was expecting that someone will raise this doubt, that, for example, now if your project, if this URL is with someone, so anyone can do changes. For example, if I don't like you guys, or I just want, don't want to do some mischief, so what I'll do is I'll just copy this URL, I'll make some changes, or I won't make any change, I'll just delete everything and then I'll push it. I can do that, right? Whatever I explained as of now, if someone has this URL, you just need to follow these 3 steps: git add origin, he just needs to delete all this stuff, ये भी delete कर दिया, ये भी delete कर दिया, and then क्या क्या, git status, git add all, git commit, git commit किया, और फिर क्या कर दिया, git push कर दिया. कोई भी ऐसा कर सकता है, करेक्ट? और अगर ऐसा हो गया तो then your project is not safe, right? अगर किसी ने ऐसे कर दिया, डिलीट कर दिया, ये प्रोजेक्ट खाली हो गया, हो सकता है ना ऐसा, करेक्ट? सो फॉर दिस स्टफ, so देखो, एक चीज तो ये है कि what you can do is you can use that git checkout command and you can bring back your project, correct? And second thing is, what you can do is you can make your repository private. So once you make your repository private, you will be the owner of that repository, and it would be depending on you that, okay, to whom you want to give the access. So in that case, what will happen is, this is the manage access section. So in that case, you will be able to add team members. So all the team members now only would be able to make changes in this particular repository. So that's how you can make your repository safe. And then there's another third level of security which you can add to your repository, is pull request. So what pull request will do is, once someone pushes anything to your repository, be it anyone, be it the person whom you have added as a collaborator, or be it any other person, correct? You'll get a notification over here that this particular person has changed these 2 things. For example, what I just did in the last commit was that I deleted these 2 files and then I pushed it. So as of now, it directly reflected, correct? But if I'll turn on the pull request feature, there would be that those changes would be stopped at this particular point, and it will ask me that this particular developer has deleted these 2 files or made these changes, do you want to accept it? Once I'll accept it, then it would be reflected into my original repository, those 2 changes. It's just like a 2-factor authentication which you guys get in the login feature of almost all the websites now, correct? Once you write password, then you get an OTP, and then you get the confirmation. The pull request is a similar feature. No one gets to edit your repository directly. There's a pull request feature. Once you accept it, then those changes would be merged to your repository. So that is the pull request feature, and that was the private repository feature which I mentioned. So these are the things which are there. So now if you want to contribute to any repository, you know how to do it, right? Like for example, I have been contributing to these many repositories. Let's assume any open source repository which you guys know that uh, know of? If you can name anyone can name any repository. Let's let's go to devc repository itself, right? I'm part of, let's see this repository. So if you want to contribute to this repository, what you have to do is simple. Just go here, just copy this and set the origin over here, and you will get the complete code in your local machine. Once you have made any change, add it, commit it, and push it, your pull request would be visible at that particular repository. And once the owner of that repository accepts your pull request, whatever changes you have done in the code would be merged to the main repository. So that's how the pull request feature also works. So yeah, we are done with the pull request feature as well. I hope you guys learned something from this session. And if you guys are interested, we can maybe we can organize another one, another session where we'll take ahead from, we'll move ahead from this point and learn so many more stuff which you can do with the help of Git and GitHub. There are so many things which you can learn, but we have covered the basics, and I guess more than the basics of Git and GitHub in today's session. So yeah, that's all from my side. If there are any questions, definitely you guys can go ahead and ask. Not only now, if you have any questions, if you face any difficulty while trying GitHub or any other thing, I'm readily available. Yep. Cool. So
Yes, sir, I'll
yeah,
do share the contact or the mail address of yours with our group members.
Hmm.
And also, like, this is project time, so we gonna build our projects. So in case when we, if we like face any difficulties, we'll definitely reach out to you
definitely.
because we have to do the practical implementation, whatever you taught today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Definitely, you guys should try. Be it any project, you might have. Everyone has at least one project. Everyone over here might be working on at least one project. So you can just try initializing Git and try basic commands: Git status, Git add, Git commit in your local machine. And don't worry, even if you make any mistake, even if you have deleted anything by mistake, I can assure you that I can bring it back. That's what I can say. Even if you'll delete it from recycle bin or wherever, Git has the power to bring it back. So don't be afraid to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sir. So, like for the next meet, or if we have any topic
Hmm.
that you would check upon, I'll let you know.
Definitely.
Yeah. To the end of it. Good evening, everyone. So, like, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. I, Tanvi Rathi, DSC lead, extend a hearty vote of thanks to all the audience for sparing some time out of the busy schedule for attending the event. I express our sincere thanks to Mrinal sir, who is in the lead developer circles from Facebook, for such an informative and great session. It will be our pleasure to learn more in future from you. Also, I would like to appreciate the effort made by everyone in making this webinar successful. I wish all the best to all of you. And yeah, with this, I'm officially calling up the meeting. So I'll definitely share Mrinal's email ID with all of you in case we all have any doubt or something. Sir will reach out to you.
Yeah, sure. And I'm actively available on LinkedIn as well. If you guys want to connect.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Bye.